People with a porn addiction. How did you realize you had it? I thought about watching porn basically every time. Walleyed almost every woman I saw, and I used it as a dopamine rush every time I felt it down. My viewing habits resulted in finding a way to give myself memory issues, symptoms of depression, and lack of interest by draining all the dopamine and causing receptor downregulation over several years. It takes like 2 weeks to get my memory back to a level I find normal. None of that is watching in public. It is noted people with depression exhibit depressed mood and lack of interest in the stuff they usually do. It can't just be some one-day stint. The death grip thing is very real, but when it comes to porn affecting your performance, it usually is not the culprit. Every time you nut, and this isn't exclusive to guys, it affects women too. Men suffer from porn addiction more than women because they are usually the target consumers. Your brain gets conditioned to crave the stimulation you are receiving. It isn't necessarily that you are into whatever weird porn you watch. Your body and brain are just craving porn. Basically, you Pavlov yourself into not being into real. The only way to get back to normal, at least from my experience and what I have read from others, is to quit porn cold turkey. It will take time, but eventually it will get easier. I'm 2 months no porn, and is actually fun now, and I haven't worried much about accidentally losing interest. Also cock rings. I've wondered if it's an exhaustion thing more than it is conditioning. The novelty afforded by high-speed internet and proliferation of that stuff allows you to push yourself long past the point you'd normally stop getting anything out of it. So theoretically, you could reach the point where you essentially need it to get off, because your brain is too exhausted to get off the other way. Thus, the thing some people report of going into deeper and more specific fetishes over time. It would make sense that the more exhausted their brain is, the higher intensity of a really specific desire they need fulfilled to light things up at all. My partner has that issue. He looks at porn all the time and can't seem to enjoy without doing degrading porn style stuff to me or talking about porn scenarios like threesomes. Always, of course, describing a woman more attractive than me. He also expresses a lot of dissatisfaction with my body, in 5'9" and 150 pounds with B-cup breasts, but I'm apparently too fat and my boobs are too small. I don't know if that's just a porn thing. Like, the beauty standards in porn are restrictive, but it's not like it's exclusively rail-thin women with massive tits. There's a decent amount of diversity of body shapes in porn. Some men, especially in rural and conservative parts of the USA, like I'm from, are taught that women are supposed to look, act, and be a certain way. They are to treat men as masters and not equals. Be a baby factory and cook and clean. Never speak out of line. And if she ain't a knockout 10, then she is subpar and not valuable. When you're raised with that type of toxicity from childhood, it's very hard to get rid of and takes a lot of self-reflection, work, self-healing, and forgiveness. Some of that hypercriticism might be a control tactic to make you think you can't do any better. Or he might be delusional of his own self-worth. Either way, he sounds like a buzzkill at best, and an absolute head at worst. I've stuck around because I figured if I just tried hard enough he would love me like I wanted him to. I calorie counted every single day for 3 years to get to the weight he wanted, but then I got PTSD from being a COVID nurse, and it all just fell apart. In his defense, he did look after me financially while I was recovering. He didn't really understand the PTSD though. I want to leave, but it's going to be financially devastating. Rents in my city are insane. Most of the stuff is his, and I don't have family or friends with room to take me in. I'll figure it out, but I'm still recovering from the PTSD, and trying to return to work and honestly handling both things is just a lot. I'm not saying that watching porn while in a relationship is bad, but one should be able to differentiate between the two. And ultimately, what's the point in being in a relationship if all he wants to do is degrade you, have a threesome and tell you bull? 5'9", 150 pounds with B-cup. Sound pretty fucking hot to me. I honestly can't imagine sitting across from someone I care about and describing someone hotter than the person I'm talking to. I mean, faf, how out of touch do you have to be? I reckon you should give him a taste of his own medicine. But in all seriousness, be safe. Don't put yourself in danger. Contemplate it, talk to him, and leave. When I was seeking out more intense, nothing illegal, just weird, content that made me feel even worse than I was at the time, tried stopping and couldn't. Now that I'm not depressed, it doesn't feel like as big a deal to me, and I naturally moved away from the stuff that really bothered me. But yeah, I still have a bit of a time waste problem dealing with the Thai disgusting industry. I think COVID messed me up big time. With extreme loneliness and depression, porn was more of an outlet than before. Then that stuff got a bit stale and boring, so then I would read and watch hentai, manga, and that rabbit hole was not pretty. It wasn't until I watched a vanilla hentai when I realized exactly how aggressive and animalistic the content I consumed was. Made me see how faffed up my brain and interests were. Not myself, but a buddy. Seriously. This is not a have this friend kinda scenario of mine. Will regularly sit in public places just watching porn videos on his phone, seemingly oblivious to how strange that is. Sat in the pub with the group of us, and this fella will just have his phone out watching porn. Occasionally, he'll pipe up, "Oh fellas, check this out," and proceed to show us what he's watching. It's pretty uncomfortable, awkward, particularly when other patrons clock what he's doing and give all of us a look of disgust. I've been with him on public transport before, and he's done the same, literally while there are kids around. He genuinely doesn't seem to understand it's not appropriate behavior. I've brought it up with him once or twice, as have a couple of our other mutual friends, and he'll stop and put his phone away, but then be at it later. I'd consider that a pretty strong indicator that he has an addiction. That said, I'm not his therapist or his partner, so I'm not going to push him to get help or anything. There's a whole bunch of people calling me the arsehole for not calling him out or helping him deal. The guy is a grown adult. We're both in our 30s, and it's not for me to fix it. I made a post explaining, commenting on someone I thought had a porn addiction, and Reddit is whacking me. Can you please not? I am not responsible for a grown adult in their 30s doing Thai things. I don't need the hive mind telling me I'm some sort of awful cunt. Please and thank you. You don't have to take any responsibility for his addiction ending, but you and your pals should take responsibility of yourselves by being honest about how you feel and making it clear. You all shouldn't have to be uncomfortable and subjected to someone else's kinks and you will pleasure. And don't stay friends out of kindness if you're not enjoying them besides the porn, and are staying just to not hurt feelings. It sucks, but he may need to lose some friends to this behavior to wake up and change. Or just at least end the hangout when he fails and has porn up. You can give him chances, but when he doesn't succeed, don't reward him with your time. I'd end the hangout and say we can try again some other time to hang out, but make it clear it's 'cause of the porn. This would help give him the signals and consequences this is wrong, and the time in between hangouts to work on it. Hopefully, it'd be motivating. I know losing friends helped me change some of my bad behaviors, because I was tired of losing my friends. You don't have to abandon them, but don't reward them either. Honestly, I'm so sick of this gateway logic. It's just bull, and has been disproven many times. And I've put this to the test myself too. People said I'd graduate to heroin if I smoked weed or did LSD. So I tried it because I'm a scientist. And I'd rather believe the actual data than the say-so of some idiot. Been doing both for years, and still no heroin usage or any urge to even want to touch that. All of it is complete bunk made up by fear-mongers who don't understand what they're talking about. People are fearful and stupid when it comes to things they don't understand. They'll believe this till they die just because it reaffirms their predispositions and comes up on a Google search. There's nothing you can do to help it. They're all angry people just looking for somebody to attack, is all it is. That's their addiction. That's why they're attacking the guy above over something he really has nothing to do with. I was at a Red Sox game with my wife once, and this dude in front of us was there with his apparent girlfriend and a couple friends, and dude was straight up watching anal porn on his phone in the middle of the game. Girl didn't seem to notice, and he seemed to be angling his phone away from her, so she couldn't see it. I'd make a seventh inning stretch joke somewhere here, but they all left mad early. Something similar happened to me, but on a plane flight. I was at the window seat, and two other guys come sit down. We strike up conversation. The one guy, early 20s and looked like a rugby player, got a video from someone before the flight took off. He opens it and it's someone facking a donkey. He bursts out laughing and is watching the video before showing it to both of us. Now, I don't know about you guys, but showing someone you just met a video of bestiality doesn't seem normal. He kept watching the video after showing it to us. When my penis wouldn't get hard unless a girl in a school uniform was throwing up on a dick. This is where my partner currently is, well, has been for the past 5 years or so, but isn't ready to admit it to himself yet. Started about 5 years ago with just always needing to have porn on when we faffed, evolved into him focusing more on the porn than the. We're now at the point where he'll ask me to leave the room while he jerks off, otherwise he can't come. Fun times. Guy really knows how to boost a guy's self-esteem. While you shouldn't let porn interfere with your relationships, preferring porn over can be a pretty logical and even responsible choice. Way less time, less money, lower health risk, zero chance of pregnancy, stress, less risk of an uncomfy negative you'll experience, can be more enjoyable, etc. Different strokes for different folks. The intimacy offers matters more to some than others. Is like a fancy souffle. Jacking it is an relaxed and easy bowl of ramen. The novelty of getting laid and building up a body count can wear off at a certain point and end up a bit more circumstantial. You don't want to have not enough, but there is an upper limit where it becomes too much. Having a good life with your partner is super rewarding, but you should still make space for yourself to explore what does it for you as well. Everything in moderation, basically. I recently experienced ED and possibly lost my chances of a relationship with this amazing girl I know. I felt really bad and insufficient afterwards and feel that it may have been a consequence of my porn addiction, masturbation since age 14 or something. I have quit porn and don't want to return to it. But are the damages with porn-induced ED irreversible? What is your experience? Think of just about any time you've ever thought, I'd rather be playing a video game right now, or watching a movie, or reading a book. When you're hooked on porn, it is your decompressing coping mechanism for everything. The weird thing about it is that, by itself, it's not an unhealthy habit. It's not like drinking alcohol or smoking weed, where you're ingesting a chemical that has wider health implications. You've just figured out the shortcut to get a dopamine rush entirely with your own body doing an activity almost all of society does. You can rationalize it a lot of ways. You just do it too often that it's not good for other reasons, like having trouble finding enjoyment doing other activities that aren't so adrenal, and having society, and probably inner morals, generally looking down on viewing porn around children. Just got into a blowout argument with my wife about this. For the past 15 years she hasn't initiated intimacy at all, and I'd get shot down at least 60% of the time I tried. I know she's always had self-esteem issues, and was self-conscious about. I figured it was that coupled with the dwindling libido. She got a Kindle. We share an Amazon account so I'd get notifications if books she may like. They started getting away from smut romance novels, and more into straight hardcore porn. Her refusals when I initiated stopped. I had a 100% success rate. I figured I'd take the win. Then I noticed she's up 2 hours early. First thing she did in the morning was grab her Kindle. Same the second she got home. She'd go to bed early because she wasn't feeling well, but be up reading 4 hours later when I go to bed. She'd wake up in the middle of the night and read for hours. Couldn't take a 10-minute car ride to the kids' soccer without reading the whole time. Then one day a few weeks ago, picked up her Kindle, and what do you know? Those nights she wasn't feeling well early morning, middle of the night while I'm next to her sleeping, all in browser history time stamped at Pornhub. Stuff I'd never guessed she was into. Nothing bad, but surprising. Now, I want to be 100% clear here. There is nothing wrong with porn. I enjoy it too, and I'm sure she knows. What hurt me is she never ever initiated intimacy, and I thought it was just how she was. But seeing that she did have these desires and feelings and still preferred to do it herself while she knows I'm always willing and able hurt, and it hurt a lot. I felt worthless, stupid, ugly, disgusting, betrayed. Ignored the past 2 days she's initiated, and it's been great. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back to the way it was again very soon. Confront in the nicest. and most supportive way you can, without letting her gaslight you or act like you were terrible for trying to help. I tried and failed. We got into a pretty big argument. She did try gaslighting, but I shut that down. Also, when she kept trying the, "Sorry you feel that way," I corrected her multiple times, "Is I feel this way because of her actions or inaction?" No. We argued for quite some time, and I went for a 3-hour drive alone after. We've talked about it a little since, and I've apologized for blowing up at her. I really wanted it to be a civil conversation, but like I said, I failed. Her response was, "At least it's out in the open now." Told her I'm not looking for a porn star experience every night, but just some interest and active experience. I honestly don't care if she wants to have some alone time on the hub or with a book once in a while. I just couldn't take being ignored anymore. Also, while I'm sure it's really hard, try not to take it too personally. As a lady who often prefers to sort myself out rather than initiate for various reasons that have nothing at all to do with my love of and attraction to my husband, I speak from experience. That said, the amount of time she's putting into it does suggest an addiction, so definitely do discuss that with her. But keep the focus on her and what's healthy for her rather than your own hurt. Expect her also to struggle to put into words why she feels the need to read porn. I know I wouldn't be able to if asked. My inability to talk about openly is one of the reasons I watch porn, but I could never say that out loud or elaborate. Good Lord. I had to watch porn for a minute before losing my virginity so I could get hard enough to put the condom on properly. I quit porn a year and a half ago though. Feeling fantastic ever since. Generally, it's just not viewing porn. Any specific helpful advice in that regard depends on the person. There won't likely be any successful masturbation at first, but with time, you won't need porn. You will also likely not want to masturbate as frequently as before, since using porn makes it easier to do more often. One advice that's recommended for any addiction is to plan to do something you want to do, or makes you feel good, to replace the time you would have normally spent on the addiction. Also recommended to cut contact with addiction friends. Not as common as with drug use, but I'm sure some people have friends or communities they're a part of online that are enabling their porn addiction. Wouldn't say I had a porn addiction, more that I had an unhealthy relationship with porn. Simply not using porn for a while enabled me to have a more healthy relationship with it once I stopped abstaining from it. May not work for others who have greater issues with it, but so long as you don't blame yourself for failing, there's no harm in trying. My buddy has one, and he's always been aware of it. He knows his other buddies don't watch porn anywhere nearly as much as he does, and he feels like a complete loser over it. When he had a girlfriend, she would satisfy his desires, and so would he satisfy hers. And so, he didn't watch porn as much as he used to. But now that they broke up, he is back to where he was before, and he is more lonely than ever. Sadly, I lived over 1,000 miles away now, so I can't really help him outside of advice. I realized I didn't actually like it anymore, but my brain needed it all the time. My head fills with guilt every time I consume it now. It was ruining my relationship with every woman I met or knew that is not my family. I thought I would eventually just phase out porn, but I have been consuming it from the time I was 15 to now. I am 31 next month. One day in July, I was viewing porn, and something snapped. I closed the video, browser window, and contacted a porn addiction therapist, and began bi-weekly sessions with them. I am not completely recovered, but I am headed in the right direction. When I feel bad about my issue, I watch this and remind myself I am doing the best thing for me by seeking help. One last thing, and masturbation without porn was infinitely better when I began recovery. I was pretty addicted to porn when I was in my late teens, 20 years old. I'm now 29, and I'll watch kinky porn here and there probably once a week, but usually when I masturbate now I just close my eyes and use my imagination. It was really rough when I first started dating a serious girlfriend at 21. I was so used to the way I touched myself, and the freaky porn I liked affected my usual relationship with her as normal very seldomly made me come. I'd be hard af and going on for hours, but I couldn't come. I always had to finish myself off. But these days, I kind of have the opposite problem. For all the young folks, I will warn you, Porn addiction is real, and just like drugs, you start seeking out freakier and more disgusting till you can only come by watching 3 Judes triple stuffing abroad with giant tits. There is a general misunderstanding in this thread. Up is talking about porn addiction, not masturbation. The latter is healthy, scientifically proven, and quite normal. The former isn't, as it warps your sense of reality in many ways. I think the biggest tell is that you crave porn when you could have a real relationship with a real person. Another tell is that you expect people in real life to look like porn actors and have a warped understanding of how the human body should look. I wasn't getting off to porn videos that had even the slightest flaw on the woman, and I never got off to photos of above average looking women who had a minor flaw. So I stopped watching porn and started getting off to amateur models' photos. I'm weaning myself off of the picture perfect ideal, and am focusing more on the mental aspect than the physical. Eventually, I'll go to the Real Nudes subreddit where the average person shares their own nudes, flaws and all, and get myself acclimated to accepting flaws again. My partner explained it to me after I shared that I literally cannot come unless I imagine porn I've watched in my head, or imagine my own fantasy scenario. If I can't focus on the fantasy because my mind is distracted, I don't come and know that I won't, so I'll cut it short. It's not that I don't find my partner attractive. It's just imagining porn is way more stimulating. I get the high. Also that I like to constantly explore and try new things in the bedroom because I've become so desensitized to what's common. That part isn't so bad. My best friend would watch porn and jerk off before girlfriend was in the bath, showering. When I used to have girlfriend, I didn't jerk off even one single time and never watched porn. Instead of porn, I rather have a what the faff guy watch porn if I have a girlfriend. It's actually cheating also. Yes, it is cheating 100%. That girlfriend I had, she will never find someone like me. She faffed up. But I faffed up also. All concepts and love of my life. I went to hell just like that. Hollow heart. Ain't more bless. No more good boy, no good girl. Just basic human. I rather find more people addicted to porn than versa. I don't know why life is so crap. You have actual woman or boy or person near you and you instead devoting your time to porn. I'm dealing with this right now. I'm not sure if it's necessarily a porn addiction or I'm just hypersexual. My girlfriend can't keep up with my sex drive and it's becoming a problem. She's not the problem, I am. I don't even really ask her for sex anymore and I just resort to dealing with it myself. Have no idea where to start in dealing with it. Obviously cutting out porn is a good first step, but I still regularly jerk off on fantasies alone. I really thought I'd be slowing down by the time I reached this age, 30 years old.